Thank you for being here for our interview. Can you start by telling us what exactly happened to you?
It's not easy to talk about this, but I think people need to hear it. What happened to me wasn't just about a silly video or a few laughs. It was about something bigger, something scarier, happening around us every day. Let me take you back to where it all began. I didn't think much when I heard the laughter from the next room. My best friends. Jokes were usually harmless, cringe-wise sometimes, but harmless. This time though, there was something off. As I walked in, I could hear them howling like hyenas. I froze for a moment, wondering what could be so funny, but then I saw the screen. I saw my face. My face, but it wasn't me. My face appears on a body that doesn't belong to me, and the video shows me doing ridiculously embarrassing things that I could never do. This is a spoof video. How can they play such a stupid face swap game with my face?
What are you doing? We're best friends!
They didn't even notice I was there until I yelled. It was extremely humiliating for me. How funny. They're my best friends. But I couldn't laugh. I felt exposed, humiliated. My friends thought it was hilarious to put my face on this thing. I couldn't let it go. That night, I sat alone in my room, the only light coming from my computer screen. Their laughter kept replaying in my head. How could they think it was funny? How could they even do that to me? I decided I would make my own face swap video, show them how it feels. I wanted to hit back, but I needed to figure out how, so I started searching. That's when I stumbled upon something chilling. As I scrolled, I saw a real story, about a woman who had been destroyed by face swap videos by her best friend. Jody, a 26-year-old woman, discovered that her close friend, Alex Wolf, had used deepfake technology to create explicit videos featuring her face without her consent, subjecting her to widespread harassment and emotional trauma. My anger turned to a cold knot in my stomach. It wasn't just me. This wasn't just a prank anymore. It was something much darker, much bigger. I sat there staring at the screen, the glowing headlines blurring in my vision. This is horrible, I whispered to myself. And suddenly, my own things didn't seem so important anymore.
So, what are deepfakes and image-based abuse?
Deepfakes and image-based abuse are emerging forms of digital violence that primarily target women and marginalist groups. They are more than virtual crimes. They are rooted in systemic power imbalances and cause long-term harm in personal and professional spaces, according to recent reports. Women politicians and public figures are increasingly falling victim to false and explicit images designed to silence and control them. These abuses can be understood through a framework of violence that includes gendered power dynamics and control, which mainly fall into three interconnected categories: sexual violence, psychological violence, and cyber violence. Sexual violence involves the creation and distribution of explicit content without consent, violating bodily autonomy, while psychological violence manifests through persistent harassment, threats, and emotional manipulation designed to instill fear and control behavior. Similarly, cyber violence leverages technology to magnify harm, targeting victims on a massive scale, reflecting a broader pattern of abuse rooted in power and control. While deepfakes and image-based abuse can affect anyone, they disproportionately target marginalized groups. In gender, women, who make up 96% of victims of deepfake pornography, are frequently targeted due to their hypersexuality and in media and culture, leading to the non-consensual creation of explicit content. For the marginalist group, nationality, ethnic minorities, and immigrant communities are also victimized, with deepfakes exploiting cultural stigmas around explicit material to amplify systemic racism and xenophobia, further marginalizing these groups in public and private spheres. Additionally, the professionals in politics and activism, particularly women, face deepfake attacks aimed at undermining their credibility, silencing their voices, reinforcing patriarchal dominance, eroding public trust in their leadership, and deterring others from these fields. The impacts of deepfakes and image-based abuse go far beyond the virtual realm. They leave profound psychological scars, such as PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Victims who suffer from PTSD will feel violated and traumatized each time the content resurfaces, and the symptoms from anxiety and depression may bring them a constant fear of being monitored or attacked online, leads to isolation and reduced self-esteem. For marginalized groups, the impacts are compounded by systemic stigma. Women may face victim blaming due to societal backlash. Deepfakes and image-based abuse are not isolated incidents. They are rooted in systemic violence aimed at controlling and silencing marginalized groups. To combat this, we must advocate for stronger regulations for tech companies, support victims with legal and psychological aid, educate ourselves and others about the realities of digital violence. In the UK, laws have been introduced to combat online harassment and non-consensual image sharing. However, the rapid rise of deepfake technology has exposed significant gaps in these legal frameworks, leaving victims without adequate protection. Let's explore the current state of UK laws and how they can be improved to tackle this digital violence effectively. The UK now has some existing laws on image-based violence. There still exist gaps in the UK's current laws regarding deepfakes. It lacks comprehensive legislation specifically addressing the creation and distribution of deepfake images and videos. To combat deepfakes and image-based abuse, images or videos should not be used in any way as a weapon of aggression or violence against persons, and such behavior should be subject to clearer and more detailed laws and regulations. The government should prohibit and shut down all online AI face swapping websites, and no one should be authorized to use the technology except for certain government-approved persons.
People are feeling troubled and insecure.
The UNIDR points out that the humanitarian sector can enhance resilience to deepfakes by promoting digital literacy, fostering transparency to build trust, collaborating with governments and industry, and ensuring inclusive participation of diverse groups in securing the digital ecosystem. At the same time, other organizations have set up similar programs, such as making all spaces safe by UNFPA. In addition to this, some humanitarian organizations such as True Media, dedicated to providing technical support for face swapping detection. In the area of humanitarian work, in addition to proposing to the government the introduction of more detailed relevant laws, it should also be proposed to the Ministry of Education that an educational course on graphic violence be added to the existing mandatory ethical education curriculum for the S&SC development, so that every citizen will have a deep understanding of this concept, and thus be able to exercise self-restraint. While addressing the root causes of the problem is indeed an important aspect of humanitarian work, assistance to existing victims also deserves our consideration. With this aim, we have provided psychological assistance to victims both online and offline, as some victims are not always willing to share information about themselves. We hope to set up a humanitarian project in which a team of psychologists will provide psychological counseling to these victims on a pro bono basis, promote psychological rehabilitation, and provide other reasonable assistance. What happened to me was just a glimpse, a small taste, of the damage these so-called jokes can do. But there are others out there, victims who've lost more than their dignity. They've lost jobs, relationships, and entire lives, cutting through lives and leaving wounds that may never heal.
Caring for the marginalized and bringing them more understanding and help.
Stop prejudicing every victim, and don't let your words be a secondary victimization of others.
Courage to speak out about the violence and abuse you've suffered. It takes all of us to progress in social awareness.
And all image-based violence. Every woman should not be maligned. Do everything you can to stop malicious deepfake from happening.
All the voices used in video are deepfaked, including this one.